Can we start?
Yes, ma'am, we can start.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, all. On behalf of IOT Academy, I welcome you all for the sixth session of National Level FDP on the art of research. Let me introduce the resource person of today's session, Dr. M. Prem Kumar. He is currently working as an associate professor, electrical and electronics engineering, Dayananda Sagar College, Karnataka. His qualifications include BA Electronics from Sri Ramakrishna Institute of Technology, MA Applied Electronics, and PhD from Anna University, Chennai. He has over 13 years of teaching experience and has published more than 100 technical articles in various national and international peer-reviewed journals. He is also serving as an editor for leading journals such as IEEE and IET. He is also a member of various professional bodies. His current researches include optimization techniques, power converters and inverters, and DC converters for renewable energy systems. With this, I hand over the session to Dr. Prem Kumar. Sir, please.
Yes, so thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for
Welcome,
your
sir.
introduction.
Welcome.
Yes. So let me share the screen first. I think my screen is visible to your people, right?
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Welcome, sir.
So first of all, before starting the session, I would like to invite you all for this wonderful GP on research methodology and the art of research in higher education institutions. And this is one of the important FDPC. The people are conducting so many FDPs in technical fields, but this is what the area we have to focus, because in the recent days, the many researchers are coming up, and even this research is mandate for most of all the faculty members. So this kind of awareness program is required. So I just thank the Innovation Online Training Academy for organizing this wonderful FTP. And in my today's discussion, what I would like to discuss is how to publish research publications in Scopus and UGC CARE journals. So that's what the topic of today's discussion. So here, I just want to redefine this topic of discussion to how to publish a quality research publication. So that's what my today's intention. Let me move on to the today's agenda. So these are the topics today I'll be discussing, like publications in indexed journals. Like mostly everyone knows the UGC CARE and the Google Scholar. But when we talk about the quality publication, so we should know what is the Web of Science and Scopus. So here, in most of my focus is on the Web of Science and Scopus, how to publish and how to focus on the quality journals to publish your quality papers. So that's what the first discussion. And later I'll move on to the research metrics. So what are the various research metrics that are available to assess the journal as well as to assess the authors. So I'll be touching on the various metrics and what are the metrics we have to focus to improvise your quality of research. And finally, I'll be talking about the citation. So why we have to focus, what is citation and why we have to focus on the citation, and what are the different ways to improve the citation. So that I'll be touching on. And finally, as a researcher, what are the research profiles you should have? So the people are thinking like once we publish, then we will leave it. So it should not be the case. So you should have your own profile, and what are the profiles you have to have it as a researcher, as a teacher, okay, as a the teaching fraternity. So obviously you should have some kind of profiles, so that I'll be telling you what are the profiles and where you have to create all those profiles, that I'll be telling you. So first I'll be moving on to the importance of publication. So this is what the first question coming into the mind to all the people, like starts from the new researchers to the old researcher, why I have to publish. So that's what the first question arises, right? So maybe it may be a academic mandate, or it may be a research mandate, but the primary objective of the publication is you're doing some kind of research. So when you do some kind of research, how do you know that your research findings are correct? So to disseminate your research findings, obviously the publication is very, very important. And this is also a ethical mandate to make the results available in a timely manner. So you are doing research today. If you are not conveying that research to the people or research to the society, then obviously there is no meaning of doing research. So when you do research, obviously as soon as possible it should be disseminated to the people, so that we can say that okay, we have done something, and we have achieved this, and we can ask the people to improvise it. So it's a kind of ethical mandate why we are going for the publication. And the third important the objective is enhance the visibility of the research. Is obviously you are doing research, and how other people, how the third person knows that you are doing some kind of research. So obviously, to enhance your visibility, you have to publish your papers and demonstrate the credibility of the work. And this is a kind of a measure of success. So yes, it's not only like a success, even if it is failure, yes, you can publish it, and you can say that if you do this procedure, yes, we get some kind of failures. Even the failures also you can publish as a paper. So obviously it's a kind of a measure of success. And importantly, because nowadays the people are focusing on the funding and promotion opportunities, so definitely this publication will be boosting your funding and promotion opportunities. So these are the various reasons why we are focusing on the publications. But now, at this current stage, what I can say is this is what the statement: publish or perish. Because in most of the institutions, the people are focusing on NIRF ranking. A lot of ranking systems are available, and the NBA process or their NAC process are there. So they want to get accredited. They want to get their institute accredited. So obviously, the people are looking for some kind of publications. Then what automatically comes to the faculty is some kind of pressure is coming to the faculty that you have to publish or else you have to perish. So that's what the statement. Now in the recent days, it's coming to all the mind: publish or perish. So at least to meet the demand of the institute, or the demand, or at least to sustain your career or sustain your job, obviously you have to publish. So that's what, with this small introduction, I'll be touching on how to choose the journal. Okay, you have some kind of good papers with you. Okay, so how to select the journal? Because see, in recent days I could see some kind of engineering papers are published in psychology journal. So what is the use of publishing the papers, engineering papers in psychology journal? So you have to, as a researcher, you have to select a proper journal to publish your paper. So when you look at the journal, what are the things you have to look at it? The first question is, what audience do you want to reach? What is the journal scope? So when you open the journal, obviously the aim and scope button will be there. Just open it and read the journal scope and just check whether your paper falls within the scope of the journal or not. If not, please don't go to the journal. Even if you publish a paper in that journal, it is of no use. If it is within the scope of the journal, yes, you can submit your paper. And the second one, how prestigious is the journal in your field? Where do readers look for the best science in your field? So for example, see, if we have a paper, and for example, I'm doing the research at power system area. So in the power system area, what are the prestigious journals are there? How it is familiar to the people, how it is familiar to the readers. So based on that, you have to select the prestigious journal to submit your papers. And how long does it take publish in this journal? So this is what the very important criteria when you select the journal. See, some of the quality journals may take 1 year. Even some journals are taking more than 2 years to publish the quality papers. So when you submit the papers in that kind of journal, yes, obviously there may be a chance of acceptance. Suppose if the paper get rejection after 1 or 2 years, then obviously the paper will be, it will be like a world paper. So obviously you cannot submit the paper elsewhere. So that's the thing. When you select the journal, you have to see how long that journal is taking for the peer review process, and for the first decision process, and the final decision, and the decision to the publication, how long it takes. So just by analyzing it, okay, if it is falls within you, for example, if some of the research scholars doing the PhD, so they want to finish the PhD in the next year. If they submit a paper today, if it takes 2 years of publication, then obviously it is no meaning of waiting for that. Okay, so when you select the journal, you just see the time frame, and if the time frame is acceptable by you, then you just go for that journal. And finally, how much does it cost? So that this is very important thing, because nowadays the people, even all the quality publishers like IEEE, elsewhere, Springer, everyone is moving towards the open access. So open access charges. So it means that you have to pay some kind of article processing charges once your paper gets acceptance. Even some of the journals are charging during the submission process also. Okay, so you just check all the fees with relevant to the submission charges, article processing charges. If all these charges are acceptable by you, if it is affordable by you, then you select a particular journal and you submit the paper. Okay, so these are the four main criteria when you select a proper journal. One is select the correct journal, whether your paper is within the scope of that journal or not, and the prestigious of the journal, the status of the journal you have to see, and the time frame, then finally the cost. If everything meets your expectation, yes, you don't need to go for any second opinion. You can submit your paper. And what are the research paper publication steps are available? So this, I think many of the people knows it. So for the new researchers, I just want to touch upon this. So the thing is, when you go for the research paper publication, the first thing is you have to identify the unique problem. Okay, that's what we can say. It is a research problem you have to identify. So once the research problem is identified, then you have to do some kind of a gap analysis. So how will you do the gap analysis? So for doing the gap analysis, obviously you have to do a proper literature review. Okay, you have to read so many papers, that is relevant papers you have to read, and from each and every paper you have to note down what kind of technologies they have used it, and what methodology they have used it, and what are the limitations are there, what are the challenges they face. Okay, so you have to list out each and every aspect of the paper, and you have to do a proper literature review. Then after conducting a proper literature review, and you have to go for the gap analysis. Once you find the gap analysis, and you can propose some kind of methodology to fill that gap. Okay, that is what they're coming up with, a far superior solution. And once the methodology is proposed, and you'll be going for some kind of experimental study or the simulation study, you do some kind of experimental study, and finally you just analyze the results whatever you have obtained. So that experimental results, you have to analyze it, and you have to make the discussions like what are the findings from the experiments, and what are the challenges you have faced it, and though the methodology is good, it will be having some kind of limitations. So you have to list out all the things, and finally you have to make your paper draft. Once your paper draft is ready, then you have to go for the possible journals, as I discussed in the previous slide. So based on that criteria, you select the proper journal. Once you have selected the proper journal, then what you have to do, you just go to the guidelines to the authors. There you just read all the guidelines, because most of the journals, it wants the paper to be prepared in their own template. Okay, without the formatting, if you send the paper, immediately they'll be rejecting the paper. So read the guideline properly, and if they have given the paper template, just download the template, prepare the paper in that particular template, and just go for the submission. See, some quality publishers like even IEEE, Springer, elsewhere, even the Taylor and Francis, Wiley. So these journals are not asking any kind of prescribed template. Okay, so what, it's a kind of format-free submissions are available with some quality publishers. So you have to select that kind of journals. If there is no problem with the template, yes, you can go for the submission. So before submission, read the guidelines for authors completely, then finally you submit the paper. So these are the steps you have to follow when you go for research paper publications. And so when you go for research paper publications, I forgot to tell you one thing. When you select the journal, I told you the prestigious, right? So prestigious journal you have to select. So in what way that journal is prestigious? So that is completely depends upon the indexing databases. So we have so many indexing databases, or so many indexing authorities available, and the well-known indexing authority maybe you people might be knowing the UGC CAT journals, okay, but the UGC CAT journal, maybe it is Indian mandate, so I think the quality of the UGC approved journals are somewhat lesser than some other indexing databases. What are the some other indexing databases are available? So that I just want to share with you people. The very first thing is these are the three main indexing databases. So if your papers are indexed in these databases, obviously I can say that your papers are quality papers. Okay. So the very first thing is the Web of Science. Okay, in the Web of Science also we'll be having multiple criterias, like multiple levels, like SCIE, that is Science Citation Index expanded, and SSCI, that is Social Science Citation Index, and ESCI, Emerging Science Citation Index, and the Conference Proceeding Citation Index. So if your paper is indexed by any of these indexing services, obviously I can say your paper is a top quality paper around the world. If your paper is indexed by SCI or SSCI, then I can surely say that your papers are quality papers. Suppose if your paper is indexed by ESCI, okay, then obviously see that ESCI is the first step to get the SCI indexing. So obviously the quality, it may not be equal to SCI, but it is also acceptable. The quality is also acceptable if your paper is indexed by ESCI. The next one is a conference proceeding. So if suppose if you are publishing your papers in the conferences, obviously, if it is IEEE conferences or some kind of Springer conference, elsewhere based conferences, obviously your paper will be indexed by Web of Science, that is a conference proceeding index also. Then obviously you can say that your conference papers also having some kind of quality content. Okay, so this is the first level of the quality, that Web of Science. And the second level of the quality is the Scopus. Okay, so the Scopus, that I think many of you people knows it. So this Scopus indexing is given by the elsewhere. Okay, so this Scopus indexing will be given for all the scientific and technical articles. It includes the medical disciplines. Okay, so it may be a research paper, it may be a review paper, or it may be a conference paper, it may be a technical report. All these things can be indexed by the Scopus. Okay, so this complete indexing is maintained by the elsewhere. The Web of Science is completely maintained by Clarivate Analytics. Okay, so then this is actually, as I told, the Scopus is the second level. Okay, and the third level, or the lower level, I can say it is a Google Scholar. Okay, in the Google Scholar, all your papers, books, conference papers, thesis, your preprints, okay, even the abstracts, the technical reports, okay, whatever the material available in online, if it is indexed by Google Scholar, it is somewhat acceptable. I'm not saying that it is a quality content, but somewhat acceptable content. So when you select the journal, first thing what you have to see is whether the journal is indexed by Web of Science or not. Okay, then or else you have to check whether the journal is indexed by Scopus or not. Okay, so if these two are there, then we can say that if your paper is quality and journal is also quality, and submit the paper, obviously finally you'll be getting the quality publications. Okay, or else to start with, no, I am starting my research career now, so then what I have to do? Yes, you people just try to focus on the Google Scholar. So getting papers in Google Scholar is easy, but it is not in the case of the Scopus and Web of Science. Okay, even in the Web of Science and Scopus, we will be having some kind of quartiles like Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Okay, so as I told, the Web of Science is the top level. In that also 4 different sub levels are like Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. If your paper is published in Q1 Web of Science, then I can say it is a world's top paper. Okay, similarly, we will be having quartile 2, quartile 3, and quartile 4. Similar thing is applicable for the Scopus, but in the Google Scholar, that kind of sub-levels are not there. If it is indexed by Google Scholar, that's it. It's indexed by Google Scholar, but the level is compared to Scopus and Web of Science is very, very low. Okay, so apart from these three indexing databases, they have so many indexing databases also available. Okay, then one is the Midline, then another one is PubMed, the next one is DYHA and EI Commentex, PubMed and Ulrich, EBSCOhost and Cosmos. Okay, so we'll be having so many indexing databases like this, but You try to focus on the first three. If your journal is indexed by first three, then obviously I can say it is a quality journal. Yes. Now, this is what the very important thing every researcher should know: the predatory journals and predatory publishers. Okay, so maybe daily you people will be getting some kind of spam email that you submit the paper, there will be a shortage of one paper, and you can publish the paper at free of cost. So like that, you'll be getting some kind of spam mail daily. Okay, if you get some kind of mails like that, you please ignore those mails. Don't respond to those mails, because all those journals are publishers are predatory journals and predatory publishers. Okay, you should aware of this predatory journals. Okay, so what will be the impact of, and what is this predatory journal, and what will be the impact of this predatory journal, so that we have to understand first. So what is a predatory journal? Okay, the predatory journal is nothing but it is a kind of a cloned journal. Okay, it's a kind of a cloned journal, already one existing one. The actual journal is there. So what they will do is, what the people will do is, some kind of hijackers or some hackers are available. So what they will do is, they will create this another website for in the same journal name, with the same ISBN, ISSN number, okay, online ISSN or print ISSN, with the same numbers and with same names. They'll be creating another site. Okay, so what you people will do is, you'll be searching the journal name in the Google. Okay, so this predator publishers, what they will do is, they'll pay some money, and when you type some kind of journal name in the Google services, so it will show, first it will show only the predator journal website. Okay, so for example, so I just want to give you one simple experimental study on this. Okay, for that, what I do now, one of the predator journal what I identified is InterCNCR. Okay, this is one of the fake journal or predatory journal. Okay, so I just typed this. Actually, this is SCA indexed journal. Okay, so many people, I think this journal is included in the Anna University annexure list. So many people are cheated by these people. Many scholars are cheated by these people. So you just look at this. This is the journal name. Okay, and when I type this in Google, you just see there are two different websites you can observe. That is intercncrjournal.com and intercncr.net. Okay, there are two websites. I just opened both the websites. I just opened both the websites, and just see here, the name of the journal is InterCNCR, and just look at the ISSN number. Just look at the ISSN number 03781844. In a similar way, I'll open this site also, and here also you just see the journal name is InterCNCR, and you can look at ISSN number. I'll just show you the ISSN number. Okay. Yeah, here you can look at this, the ISSN number 03781844, and this website also 03781844. So it means one journal, now they have two websites. We don't know which website is right. Right. So actually, to say this, intercncr.com is the complete fake journal, and this is what the actual original one. Okay, how to identify? See, what these people will do is, you will go and submit your manuscript. Okay, so within a day or two, they'll be sending you the acceptance email. They'll be sending you the acceptance email. So yeah, at the back end of your email, you can see that they'll be asking you to pay the article processing charge of, this particular journalist charging about $500. Okay, if you pay $500, within 2 to 3 days, your paper will be published. So that you can observe in the archives. Okay, you can see in the month of April, they have published papers. Okay, so when you open this paper, you see that it will ask some kind of login ID and password. So once you have the paper ID and password, then only you can download the papers. Okay, but whereas in the original, you can see it is completely open access journal. Okay, you can download the paper without any cost, without any login details. You can see that the previous issues I'll go. Okay, and I can download all the papers. This is what my recent paper. This is what the recent paper. You just see that all your papers are downloadable. All your papers are downloadable. Okay, but here, whereas they'll be asking you the paper ID and the password, once it is given, then only you can download the papers. So yes, you publish the paper, then after that you come to know that this is a predatory journal. Suppose if you ask them to remove the paper, what they will do, they'll be asking you some extra money to remove the journal also. So likewise, they'll be getting a lot of money, they'll loot the money, and finally, your money will be wasted, your paper will be wasted, your resources will be wasted. So as a researcher, you should be aware of all these predatory journals. Okay, so how to identify the predatory journals? Okay, so whether this journal is predatory or not, how to identify it? Okay, so for that we have a lot of websites. Okay, so you just go to the website and you just check it. So this is one of the website. So Bell's list of predatory open access publishers. Okay, so just go to this website, then you can check whether your publisher is whether your journal is predatory or not. As I told you, the InterCNC is the predatory journal. Okay, so you just see that in the Bell list it is updated. In the Bell list it is already updated. I think it's not opening now. Maybe the internet is very poor. Okay, so I just shared you the link. Okay, just open that link and you can check whether the selected journal by you is a predatory journal or not. If it is not predatory, then you can go for the submission. So you please keep it in your mind that predatory journal will, it will take your cost, it will take your paper, it will take the entire resources. Everything will be wasted. Okay, just be careful while submitting the papers to the predatory journals. Okay, now when you write some kind of scientific manuscripts, okay, you are going to write some kind of manuscript, and what are the structures you have to follow? Okay, so the very first thing is the title. Okay, very first thing is the title. See, the many people are giving the long title. You should avoid a long title always. Okay, so the title should be within 10 words. Okay, within 10 words you have to write the title. Okay, so that title itself should say about the complete work of your paper. So likewise, you just put some effort while fixing the title. The next one is the abstract. So as you all know, the abstract is the brief summary of your entire research work, entire research paper, I can say. So when you write the abstract, minimum it should be 150 words, and the maximum it can up to 200 words. So 150 to 200 words, you just summarize the entire paper. Okay, to start with, in the abstract, what you have to do, it's a small introduction you have to give. Okay, and what are the problem is there, and what you are going to propose, and what you found from the research or what you found from the experimental study. So that you have to list it. Okay, so in this way only you have to write the abstract. So at any cost, it should not go beyond 200 words. Okay, and it is better if you have minimum 150 words abstract. Okay, this point you keep it in mind. The second one is the introduction. So in the introduction, so some people, what they will do is they'll be splitting the introduction into two parts. Okay, one, they'll be talking about only the introduction to the particular topic, and they'll be keeping the subsection as a literature review. But in most of the quality research papers, they will not split the literature review separately. Okay, in the introduction section itself, the people will be discussing about the literature. So when you write the introduction part, so what you have to focus is first one paragraph you should focus on the particular titles. For example, if your work is on the renewable energy systems, okay, if your work is on renewable energy systems, you should introduce the renewable energy systems in one paragraph. Okay, and you have to do a thorough literature study. So you have to download a minimum of 30 to 40 research papers which is relevant to your research, and from each paper you just list out all the merits, demerits, challenges, methodology, everything you have to list out, and you have to summarize each and every paper, and you have to cite it properly. Okay, so as I told, minimum 30 to 40 reference papers you have to refer when you write the introduction section. Then after that, yes, you'll be having the gap or the problem statement will be there for the problem statement, and what kind of method you are going to propose to solve that problem. Okay, just be specific to the method. Okay, don't describe like someone will be they'll be discussing all the basics and all. So when you discuss the methodology, okay, you just be specific what kind of methodology you are going to use it, okay, to solve the problem what you have identified. Okay, just be specific. And the next one is the results. Okay, so in the results what you have to do is, suppose, okay, some of the papers will be having some kind of experimental study, and most of the papers will be having some kind of simulation study alone. Okay, when you do the simulation study or the experimental study, you just keep all your results and you have to explain the findings comprehensively. You have to explain comprehensively. So instead what the people are doing is, so if I give this, I'm getting this much, if I give this, I'm getting this much, like that, some kind of odd statement. No, it's a kind of odd statement they'll be giving it. Okay, don't give that kind of statement. So what you have to do is, you have to analyze it comprehensively. You have to say, so because of so and so reason, my proposed methodology is giving good result, and if I tune this, I'll be getting this. So likewise, you have to analyze it completely, comprehensively. You have to analyze it, and you have to explain each and everything in the result section. The next one is this. In most of the paper, this section will not be there, but my advice is you just go with some kind of discussion sections separately. Okay, in the discussion section, what you have to do is, you have to summarize all your findings and what are the limitations. So though it is having the advantages, you have to completely describe the limitations, and there itself you can give some kind of how to overcome that limitation. That also you can describe, and what are the challenges are there when you implement this methodology. All those things you have to explain in the discussion section. Then finally the conclusion will be there. The conclusion will be, whatever the experimental finding is there, that you have to explain, and with some quantitative results. Okay, with that you have to conclude your complete paper. Once everything is done, acknowledgement section. See, some of the papers they'll be publishing with the funding agency support. So for that, you have to acknowledge it properly. For example, suppose if you use any other some of other works, you can acknowledge them in the acknowledgement section. So suppose if you want to acknowledge any person or any agency or any institution, that should be mentioned in the acknowledgement section. Okay, and the reference, as I told, for the research paper, minimum you should refer 25 papers, and if it is a review paper, minimum you have to refer 100 relevant papers. So here 2500, I'm just giving the count. So this count is, I'm talking about the relevant papers. It's not some people are whatever the paper are there, that they are keeping it in the reference section, and without any meaning they are including in the reference section. So don't do that. You just select minimum of 25 relevant research papers for your own work. Okay, or if it is a review paper, download or read some minimum of 100 papers which is relevant to your work. Accordingly, you take it and you just keep everything in the reference section, and you just cite it properly throughout the paper. Then finally the tables and figures. So wherever it is required, the tables and figures, if you want to narrate your results, obviously the tables and figures are very, very important. Okay, so when you create tables or figures, you just keep the quality figures and tables, and avoid some unnecessary tables and figures without meaning. Don't keep anything in the paper. If you keep something, you have to explain it, you have to analyze it properly. Okay, so if you follow all these steps, obviously you can publish a quality scientific manuscript. That's what my suggestion, what I just want to share with you people. Okay, and the tips on writing your manuscript. So as I discussed earlier, okay, just follow all the tips. And one of the very important problem what from the Indian authors, especially what the people are observing is the language quality. Okay, you just read the paper completely from top to bottom. After writing the paper, read the paper completely for 10-15 times, and you'll come to know wherever you have done the mistake or the language mistakes. Obviously you can correct it. Or for example, suppose if it is not possible to correct by yourself, you just take the help of some language department professors, or else just try to contact some kind of native English speakers and try to correct your language and submit the papers. So most of the Indian author papers are rejected because of the poor language quality. Okay, so please focus on that. And the typo errors also you have to focus. See, when you submit the paper, it should not have any single mistakes. Just do thorough proofreading and submit your papers. Okay, and the statement of work and the conflict of interest. See, so when you go for some kind of quality research publications, when you submit a paper itself, the journal will be asking what is the author credit statement. Okay, so for example, if 3 4 authors are there in the paper, what is the contribution of each and every person in the paper? So that you have to define it when you submit the paper itself. We have to say, for example, the X person have done the paper drafting and the complete research. Okay, and he analyzed the data and he has done the software coding. Okay, then Y person has done the proofreading and the language correction. Okay, and draft writing. So likewise, for each author, you have to define the contribution before submitting the paper itself. So that is mandate in most of all the quality journals. And the next one is a potential conflict of interest. So in most of all the journals, all the quality journals, what I mentioned in the previous slides, okay, they'll be asking you any conflict of interest is there. Okay, any financial interests are there. So if anything is there, you have to disclose it. If you don't disclose, if any problems comes in future and the authors, your journal is not responsible for that. So whatever the conflict of interest is there, when you submit the paper itself, you have to define completely, you have to define clearly. Okay, and when you submit the paper, and how, what are the steps you have to follow? The first thing is, as I told, read the instructions for authors completely. And the second one is the cover letter. So this is what the area most of our people are not focusing, the cover letter. Okay, so if you want to clear the first round of your paper, definitely you should have the proper cover letter. If the proper cover letter is not there, obviously even the first submission itself, within 2 to 3 days itself, your paper will be rejected. Okay, so when you write the cover letter, inside the cover letter, what you have to do is you have to describe your papers very briefly, and you have to discuss the novelty of the paper very briefly, and you have to say that the paper is within the scope of the journal, and also you have to mention that there is no conflict of interest, and you have to acknowledge that the paper has not submitted anywhere. So all these statements should be there in the cover letter. You write the proper cover letter and submit it, then only it will clear the first round, or else in the first round itself your paper will be rejected. Okay, and if your paper is follows or conforms all the journal guidelines and you submit the paper, then one more important thing is, when you submit the paper in the quality journals, what they will ask you is some kind of potential reviewers they'll be asking. So the reviewers, don't give the reviewers name, whatever the known names are there, don't give those names. Okay, so
So you're not audible, sir. A resource person will be joining shortly. Sorry for the inconvenience, maybe due to some network reasons. Will be joining shortly.
Ma'am, I'm sorry. I think I'm out of presentation.
No issues, sir. No
Yeah,
issues.
yeah. Okay. So I don't know where I left it. Okay. Again, I'll share the screen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I just want to give small demonstration how to select the proper journal. Okay, we have some kind of journal recommendation systems are available. Okay, for all the quality publishers. I have taken the journal recommendation system for the elsewhere. Okay, I have taken it, and here you see that what are the things we have to keep. It is you have to keep the paper title as well as the abstract of your paper. So just a second. So I'm sorry. So what you have to do is you have to keep your paper title here and the paper abstract here, and obviously it will suggest you the proper journal. Okay. For one example, what I'll do now, I'll just open one paper. I'll just okay. I'll just open this paper. Okay. It's not able to copy. So I want one paper. Yeah. So I'll just open this paper. Okay, it's already published paper. I'm just taking it for one experimental study. So I'll just keep the paper title here. Okay, I just keep the paper title here, and whatever the abstract we have written, okay, that you copy and paste here. Okay, so once it is done, you don't need to give any keyword and you don't need to select any field of research, or if you want the particular journal or particular research, okay, then you can go and select it, or else just leave it blank and just click the find journals. Okay, just click find journals. See, it will list out whatever the possible journals for your particular work. Okay, and here you can see that for this particular title and the abstract, okay, and these are all the possible journals, and here itself you can see that what is the site score of the paper journal, and what is the impact factor of the journal, and what is the acceptance rate, and what is the time frame. This is what I told you already. When you select the journal, you have to see all these things, then you have to select the paper. Okay, suppose if this journal is perfect for your need, just click this and go to submit paper and submit your paper. Okay, this is one of the simple way to find the proper journal. Okay, so for all the quality publishers, they have listed, so they have recommended some kind of links. Okay, through that link you can find the proper journal for your particular work. Okay, yes. Now the peer review process, that everyone knows it. So when you submit the paper, it will go to the editorial office. They'll be checking the plagiarism. Okay. But nowadays, even the IEEE system, when you submit the paper itself, it will scan for the plagiarism. Okay, so that kind of dedicated system they have made it. But actual process is when you submit the paper, it will go to the editorial office. That editorial office will check for the plagiarism and other formatting issues. If everything is okay, and the paper will be assigned to the editor. And what that editor-in-chief will do is he or she will read the paper, and if the paper is within the scope, or if the paper is meeting the minimum quality, then that will be given to the associate. That paper will be assigned to the associate editor. Then associate editor will look for the potential reviewers, and the paper will be sent to the reviewers. Once the reviewer has given the comment, okay, so the comment may be either rejection or acceptance, or it may be accepted with minor revision or accepted with the major revision. So like that, you'll be getting some kind of comments from the reviewer. Once the revision is requested, you do all the revisions again, you submit the paper. Okay, suppose if it is rejected, you have to go for just you see, when you get rejection, obviously the reviewers will be giving the comments, and you take the comments positively and read the comments and just work on all the comments and submit the paper to other journal. Don't go to the same journal, definitely they will not accept it again. Okay, once the paper is accepted, it will go for the protection purpose, then finally the paper will be published online. So these are all the peer review process that journalists following. Okay, then now I'll just move on to the research metrics. Okay, I just make it fast. Okay, so I just want to tell you most on this research metrics as well. Okay, so the research metrics, it is the metrics, or it is the indicator. It is available to quantify and monitor the importance of the published research. Okay, because in future you will be assessed only based on the research metrics. Okay, if your research metrics is good, then they'll be calling you as a quality researcher. If the metrics are not good, then definitely, though you have thousands of papers, it is of no use. Okay, so what are the research metrics are available? Okay, what are the research metrics are available? So that I'll be telling you. Okay, see, the research metrics, various research metrics are available. One is journal metrics. Okay, so this metrics will talk about only the journal quality. So what are the journal metrics are available is impact factor, so that everyone knows it, right? So the impact factor will be assigned for the journal. Okay, it's not for the author. So obviously I can say the impact factor is the journal metric. Okay, then second one is author metric. What is that author metric? Okay, for author metric, you will be having the citations, and you'll be having I10 index, and you'll be having H index. Okay, so H index and citations are very, very important metrics for the author. Okay, then article metrics also there, then AL metrics. So now in recent days, the people started to use AL metrics also. Okay, so these are all the metrics available to assess the journal as well as to assess the author. Okay, so I'll just focus on one by one. The first one is the impact factor. Okay, see, the impact factor will be provided only by the journal citation report, that is by the Clarivate Analytics. In all the local journals, they'll be mentioning the impact factor. All those impact factors it is a fake impact factor. Don't accept it. Okay, so impact factors should be provided by Web of Science, that is Clarivate Analytics are there. So they will be giving the impact factor. That is the actual impact factor. Okay, so this impact factor will be measured in two categories. One is a 2-year window, another one is 5 years window. Okay, so in 2-year window, what they will do is whatever the papers published in last 2 years, and out of those papers, how many papers are cited in the current year, that gives the impact factor. Okay, for example, in last 2 years, 1,000 papers are published. Okay, and out of 1,000 papers, 2,000 papers are cited. Okay, 2,000 papers are cited. So what I can say is 2,000 divided by 1,000. So my impact factor is 2. So likewise, they'll be calculating the impact factor. Okay, this is for 2-year window, and similarly, we'll be having 5-year window also. Okay, and this is one of the sample report. This report has been downloaded from the Clarivate Analytics. Okay, and I told you that even for the Web of Science journal also will be having a quartile, and you can look at the quartile. Okay, all these journals are quartile 1 journals, and you can look at the impact factors. It is 508. It is a world's topmost journal, which has the 508 as the impact factor. So this is provided by JCR. Okay, keep it in mind. Whatever mentioned in the local journals are not the correct impact factor. It should be provided by Web of Science. Okay, similar to the impact factor, we'll be having another metric called Eigenfactor. Okay, so what is that Eigenfactor is? See, when you talk about the impact factor, so that will not consider the self-citation. So even if the journal is having their own self-citation, that also will be counted in the impact factor calculation. But the Eigenfactor, when you find the Eigenfactor, so all the self-citations will be removed. Okay, for example, if I publish one paper in ISA transaction, if I included some of the papers from ISA transaction, that will be ignored when I calculate Eigenfactor, but that will be considered when I calculate the impact factor. Okay, so this is what the two difference between the impact factor and the Eigenfactor. But mostly the people will be using impact factor to see the journal status. Very, very few people are looking at the Eigenfactor and the article influence score. Okay, so these are the things I just want to skip. And this one, I just want to tell you, when I discuss the Web of Science journal, I just listed different levels like SCIE, SSCI, okay, and ESCI mentioned, right? ESCI means Emerging Science Citation Index. But for those indexing journals, we don't have any kind of impact factors. Okay, so far we don't have any impact factors. But in 2021, the Clarivate Analytics, they have introduced one indicator called Journal Citation Indicator. Means if the journal is indexed by ESCI, if the journal is indexed by ESCI, for them also they have given some kind of indicator marks they have given. Okay, so that you can observe here. Just see, these few journals are listed in ESCI, okay, and they have given journal citation indication. So this number and the impact factor number is totally different. Don't confuse with that number. That is the quality one, and this is somewhat moderate quality, I can say. So far up to 2020, they have not given any kind of indication for this ESCI journals, but from 2021, okay, from 2021 they started giving the marks for the JCA, that is ESCA journals also. Okay, so next one is the site score. So the site score, yes, you can check the site score in the Scopus. Okay, so what is the site score? It is similar to the impact factor, but the site score will be evaluated by the elsewhere. But what is the actual difference between the site score and the impact factor is, the impact factor, when they calculate the impact factor, they will not consider the conference papers, they will not consider the technical report. Okay, and if the journal, if the paper is cited in SCA journal, then only that will be counted for the impact factor calculation. But site score is not like that. Whether it is a conference paper, if it is a book chapter, if it is a book, whatever is there, okay, so that if any of the material is cited, and that will be counted for site score calculation. Okay, so where you can you can see the site score is, you can check everything in the scopus.com. Suppose if you want to check any of the journal detail, just go to scopus.com. There you select sources and keep the journal name and search it, and there you can find what is the period of indexing, how many papers are indexed so far, and what is the site score, and what is the ranking of the journal. Okay, everything you can check it from the scopus.com website. Okay, so this is also one of the important factor, but compared to impact factor, this is very less. Okay, but for the moderate researchers, yes, this if we have the papers with good site score, then obviously I can say that it is a quality paper. Okay, and all these things I just don't want to skip it. I told you one more thing is altmetric. Okay, what is this? Just 1 second. See, this altmetric score is the another metric which will be useful to assess your manuscript, okay, if it is mentioned in any of the social websites. For example, if your paper is visible in newspapers or blogs or Twitter or the Facebook or Mendeley, okay, wherever you get views, that will be counted for calculating the altmetrics. Okay, so the altmetrics, it looks like a donut shaped metric. Okay, and you can see that each one, you can see that the red color is news and blogs. Okay, so it means that news 96 is they kept. It means that 96 people, they have checked your paper in the newspapers. Okay, similarly 3 members have checked your paper in blogs. So likewise, so this is only to check how your paper is visible to the society. Okay, in order to check that one, they have introduced this altmetrics. Okay, and similar way they have Plumx metrics also. Okay, so you please try to check it. I'll just share you the slide. You please check what is the Plumx matrix. Similar to the altmetrics, they have Plumx metrics also. So it is also only to assess the visibility of your paper. Okay, then author metrics, I told you the H index. Okay, H index in the citation is very, very important metrics for the authors. Okay, how many citations of your how many citations you get so far, and what will be the H index. So the H index says that, for example, H index 5 means 5 of your papers are cited for 5 times. That is what the H index says. So it says that the impact of your papers, impact of what the papers what you published so far. Okay, so for example, I'll just take my papers as an example, and you can check the number of citations so far is 835, and you can check that the H-index is 16. It means that I published more than 100 papers. Out of 100 papers, 16 papers are cited for 16 times. That's the meaning of it. If more number is there, it means that the papers, quality papers are more in your profile. That's the meaning of it. And the citations also you can check in the Google, okay, and the ResearchGate you can check the citations, and the Bubloons also you can check your citations, and the Scopus site also you can check your citations. But you see that the numbers will not be same in all the profiles. Okay, this is, as I told, the Google Scholar will consider all the reports for citation purpose, citation calculation purpose. Similarly, your ResearchGate also. But when you take the Scopus and Web of Science, this Scopus, if you take, if your paper is cited in Scopus Indexed Journal, then that will be counted as one citation. Okay, but this one, even if your paper is cited in conference also, that will be counted for citation calculation. That's why these numbers are different. And here you can look at this. Here 835, and here 686, and here we have 448. So here it is very less. So it means that your papers only 448 times are cited in Web of Science Indexed journals. That's the meaning of it. Okay, so that's why the difference in numbers are there. And here also you can look at that 62 publications means that 62 Web of Science papers are available in my profile. Okay, so likewise you have to create your own profile also. Okay, so as a last slide, what I would like to convey is the author profile. So if you are a good researcher, you should have profile in all these sites. One is ORCID ID. ORCID ID is a unique ID which will be useful to assess your paper, or your future papers or past papers. Okay, and the researcher ID or the Web of Science profile that you can create with Bubloon's site. Okay, and the next one is the Scopus ID. Just go to scopus.com. There you can create your Scopus profile, and for each author, if you have published one paper at least in Scopus, obviously one Scopus ID will be created for your profile. So that ID is also very important. And suppose if you don't have the Google Scholar profile, go to Google Scholar. If you have the Gmail account, you can create Google Scholar ID. But to have a profile, you should have the official email address to create a profile. Okay, so these four are very important. The next one is the ResearchGate. It's a kind of a social media. In ResearchGate also you can upload, you can create your profile, and you can upload all your papers, you can upload all your research matters, or whatever the things you have, everything you can upload it in ResearchGate. Similarly, the academia and Microsoft Academic ID. So all these things are, it's a kind of a social media. You can create your research profile. So it is better to have the personal website. If you have a personal website, obviously you can list out whatever the achievements you are doing. You just list out everything, because for how the visibility of your profile will increase is wherever you are disseminate your profiles to the people, then only your visibility will increase. Okay, create the profile and just disseminate it, and just try to reach many people, so that the people start to read your papers and the people start to cite your papers. Okay, and my final acknowledgement is I acknowledge the contents of other peers whose contents are being used to comprehend the subject matter, and I do so solely for academic purposes. I do not claim the ownership of any of the contents of other peers. So this is what acknowledgement I just want to give. And finally, I would like to thank you all for this wonderful opportunity. If you have any doubts, okay, just contact me at any time. My contact details are given here. If you want, you can note it. Okay, even I have given my personal website also. You just refer to my website, so that you can come to know, you'll get some kind of idea what kind of profiles you have to create. Okay, with this, thank you all. I'm just open to the questions now, if you have any.
The session is open for discussion now. You can post your questions in the chat box, or you can unmute and directly interact with the resource person.
So I couldn't able to see any questions, ma'am.
Thank you very much, sir, for your presentation. Thanks to the organizations, myself, Dr. Shamshad Begum from Maulana Azad National Urdu University. It was a very fine, very refined and well studied and very, very well referred lecture on how to publish papers. We would further like to attend many more such lectures. Thank you very much, sir. God bless you with good health,
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank
knowledge,
you
and
very much.
happiness. Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am.
So there is a question, sir. Can I read it?
Yes, please, ma'am.
Sir, can you suggest some microbiology journals which are in UGC care list?
Actually, in that area, I don't have any, in that particular area, no, I don't have any idea. The thing is, if you want any kind of, you see, maybe you people are focusing on the UGC approved journals. I don't know why people are focusing on UGC approved. My suggestion is you try to go with some Scopus and SCI indexed journal. So that will help you in future also. Maybe for the time sake, or maybe for the pressure sake, you'll be focusing on the UGC approved. But the thing is, if you go with some high quality journals, that will speak about your profile in future. So that's what the small advice I just want to give you. So, but to check the UGC care list, yes, in the UGC care list itself, they are updating every day. But as of now, I don't have any idea on the microbiology journals.
So actually,
If you want
sir,
something from the scope, if you want something from the elsewhere, or the IEEE, as I suggested, the journal recommenders are there. You just make use of that journal recommenders. Definitely, it will recommend the proper journal for your proper work. Yes, please, ma'am. Lakshmi Priya, ma'am.
no, sir. Actually, sir, these days there's a need for this UGC approved journal, sir, for thesis submission. That's why I asked. Because it
Actually,
is a
ma'am,
necessity.
actually, in all most of the university, in the most of the university, what they kept is they kept like UGC approved bar, Scopus bar, SCA index, like that only they kept. Okay, just for the completion purpose, you can focus on UGC. As you said, maybe you'll be having a lot of pressure from the people side. So for that, you can focus on UGC. But to want some kind of recognition, no, just try to focus on Scopus. If you publish Scopus papers, obviously that will be recognized. That will be recognized more than the UGC approved. So that's what.
Okay,
that's what. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Any more questions? Shall we wind up, sir? No more.
Yes, ma'am. If no questions, yes, we can wind up. So I just want to thank the people from the IOT Academy for giving this wonderful opportunity. It's the first time collaboration with you people. So I hope I just satisfied your expectation. So though it is a 1-hour lecture, I just focused on many things, but I couldn't able to finish it. But I just throw some the initial inputs to the researchers. I hope the people will take it and they will use it in the positive way. Yes, thank you, ma'am. Yes, please take over.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of IoT Academy, I thank Dr. M. Prem
Sir,
Kumar.
please share your email ID.
Yes, ma'am, I'll share with you. I'll just share in the chat box. You can take it, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
On behalf of IoT Academy, I thank Dr. M. Prem Kumar for the very detailed and informative session. And thanks for the very nice and beneficial presentation, sir. And I thank all the participants for joining the session. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you all.
Kindly submit the feedback form using the link that has been posted in the chat box. Thank you.